Doing something a little bit different today. We are live on YouTube, and this is our episode 9 of the Darren Marcus podcast. And we've got a guest online today with us. So this is going to be a lot of fun. We're going to field some questions here at the end as well. So we'll let you guys know when we start taking those questions or start to answer the questions towards the end. But I want to introduce you to my guest today. I'm really excited to have on. Tony Stephan is an entrepreneur, Christian, and husband who stands for simple phrase: decisions, not conditions, define your destiny. After starting his online telehealth education company in 2016, by emptying his savings account and going into credit card debt, he grew that company to thousands of customers in 20 different countries and a multiple 7-figure annual revenue business in under 4 years. Refusing to rest on his laurels by simply fulfilling one dream, Tony began investing in another, real estate. Today, Tony's growing real estate investment portfolio includes $10 million of multifamily assets under management. Tony's been featured in major media publications such as Fox News, NBC News, The Huffington Post, Reader's Digest, and Women's Health. So let's welcome Tony Stephan. Tony, welcome, man.
Darren, thanks for having me, brother.
Yeah.
I appreciate it, man.
Yeah, thank you. So this is awesome. We're going to have fun today. I had the opportunity to actually see Tony in person. I was part of a mastermind a few months ago with Bedros Keuilian and Wes Watson. And then Bedros had a follow-up mastermind at one of my favorite resorts in Laguna in Dana Point, as a matter of fact. And Tony was there speaking, and I got to hear his story. And with us both being in real estate, me on the resale side and Tony on the investment side, I wanted to invite Tony in, especially when I heard his story, because as a lot of you know who've been following the show, that I started this show a few months ago solely for the reason that I knew that we were going into a recession. I knew that the market was going to get tough, and that my belief in any of my wealthy clients, and I've heard this from Tony as well, that in any market, there's always opportunities, but especially in down markets, there's opportunities. And as we move into this recession, I don't want people get stuck in this mindset that there's not any opportunities out there and it's time to just, throw in the towel and give up. This is the time that we dig in. This is the time that we find those opportunities. And this is when we can actually grow our business. So Tony, I want to start, and I love the background story that you told us. Could you give us a little bit of your background, where you grew up, how you grew up, a little bit about your childhood?
Sure, man. Well, again, thank you to you. Shout out to you for creating this resource. So you're absolutely correct. Now more than ever, it is so important to increase your education, increase your knowledge from sources like yourself of how to not just survive the coming recession, but to thrive in it. So thank you again to you, and shout out to you for creating this resource. So yeah, there's a long story, so I'll give the short story, and I'm happy to expand in any part of it. So I am a registered dietitian and personal trainer by trade. I'm from Detroit, Michigan. I love Las Vegas though. I don't gamble. I love Las Vegas. Funny fact, my favorite movie of all time is Casino.
Oh, me too, man.
Yeah,
I love that. Just watched it not too long ago.
That's it, man. So I love Las Vegas. But so my start kind of started with trauma and started with pain. My mother was a drug addict. We struggled financially as a family for a while. She overdosed when I was 18 years old. My father went through the ringer. He had 3 jobs, never made really more than $45,000, $50,000 per year. We filed Chapter 7 bankruptcy. I was on food stamps, so the whole 9 yards. And my mission was to help other people who were also struggling. My dad at a young age taught me fitness. We had a little Joe Weider weight bench. I don't know if you remember those. Or anyone listening remember?
Yeah. The ones where when you rack it back on the bench, it pinches your hands.
That's it. The sand and the dumbbells. So we had the old school stuff. And it's the Midwest, so we had a basement. So he took me down there, and he taught me to use fitness as an outlet for the stress, for the pressure, for the trauma, losing my mother, the financial stress we were under. So I devoted my life to serve others who were also going through trauma. So I was like, all right, I'll become a personal trainer. At age 18, I started off making $6 a session, $6 a session.
Wow.
But at 18 years old, you're like, this is the greatest thing ever. So, okay, I started off there. I got my degree in dietetics, did all my clinical stuff, and I became a registered dietitian at age 23. And I thought that was it, man. Like, I'm going to start this career. I started off working at Lifetime Fitness, 100% commission right out of college. So a great lesson for anyone listening to this. The best thing I ever did was learn sales. I never got a salary, so I never got addicted to the drug of being paid to shown up,
The golden
right? I
handcuffs.
learned
Yeah.
the golden handcuffs. I learned early on, you get paid on production, not on showing up. So huge value add there. So I started that. I was working for a health club, registered dietitian, personal trainer. 26 years old. I'm a regional manager. I'm running 7 clubs. And I knew I had a calling to help more people start an online business, to serve more customers than I could in my local area. So I followed a gentleman who you mentioned, Bedros Keuilian, followed him for a while, reached out. He's just started his coaching program. It was $10,000 back then. It's $100,000 now. I had $9,000 in the bank. So I took that, put the rest on a credit card, signed up, quit my job, grew that company, went through a couple evolutions with that, started off as just nutrition coaching. Then we created educational products to help other registered dietitians grow their business. We grew masterminds. It was doing about $2 million a year at like 90% profit margins.
Wow.
And I say that not to impress anyone, but to impress upon them. I had a new problem, which was I was working for money. I was making really good money, but I was exhausted. I was working 12, 14, 16-hour days. If I took time off, the revenue went away. And that's when I learned there's levels to the game of financial freedom. I worked for money, but money didn't work for me. So then that's where the real estate side of it came into it. Bedros was the first one to teach me about it, but I did a lot of self-education as well. And then we started to take our profits from our business and invest in real estate. We started with one house, bought a couple of those, bought duplex, fourplex, 7-unit, 8-unit, 12-unit, 16-unit, scaled up from there. So that's the long and short of it. I'm happy to expand in any part of it.
That's awesome, man. The one thing I want to touch on, anybody that follows me on my Instagram knows that I'm into fitness. We have similar backgrounds. I worked in the fitness industry starting when I was 15 years old, all the way up until in my mid 20s and early 30s, and then moved into real estate. But I bring that up because I've always said, and it's something that really resonated with me when I went to the mastermind a while back, is they talked about fitness being the foundation of success. And I think it applies to so many other things in our life. And I really do believe it's part of what's made you successful, part of what's made me successful. Talk a little bit more about how fitness has played a role in even your current business and how it helps with your mindset and all that stuff.
Oh, I love it. I couldn't agree more. I mean, look at it like this way, Darren. $30 million cannot buy you 30 more minutes on God's green earth.
Yep.
Right? And we've seen so many people build so much success, build wealth, but they don't have health. So number one, I'm such a big proponent in how you do anything is how you'll do everything. Like right away, as soon as we jumped on, like you're ready, you're organized, right? You can tell you just have a strong posture. Like that radiates into your business.
That's the 400
right?
milligrams of caffeine this morning.
Dude, that too. That too. I'm with you. I've got my Starbucks right here,
Right
so we're
on.
on the same page. But it's how you do anything is how you do everything, and it goes back to the expression of like, would you work with the CPA who maybe has all the degrees and credentials but is broke?
Yep.
No. Would you go work with the cardiologist who smokes cigarettes, drinks a bunch of alcohol, does drugs, is out of shape? No. So it's like you are a representation of your business. So if you're in shape, if you're healthy, you take care of yourself, that's a huge representation. And to the other fact of it, of what you were saying, there's a huge parallel between building wealth and fitness.
Mm-hmm.
Fitness, you do not go to the gym once and say you're fit. You do not eat a green salad once and say you're healthy. It is a delayed gratification process. It's a day in, day out, long road to success, right?
Yep.
The same with building wealth in business and real estate. And we live, Darren, I know you know this, we live in this instant gratification culture.
Yep.
Every time you open up social media, there's someone out there with a camera, in front of something saying, buy my course, you can be a millionaire tomorrow.
Yep.
And when you relate building wealth, especially through real estate, with fitness, you understand it is get rich slow, but build wealth long term. Same thing with fitness. It is get healthy slow, but the small consistencies and commitments that you do every day, that's what leads to long-term success. So they're so parallel. If you have the discipline to eat right, go to the gym, practice health and fitness, then you do have the same discipline to build wealth.
It's funny. I just shared this. I share this with my team all the time. I always relate to fitness when I talk to them about their daily work schedule. And I was just sharing with one of the agents on my team yesterday. I said, man, and he's got a fitness background. Him and I, we both competed together in bodybuilding when we were younger. And so I know he understands it. He understands the discipline. He's got the ability. And I said, man, look at your prospecting the same way as when you're competing. I go, you didn't diet and train for 1 week and you were ready for a show. It was 3-4 months. I go, and then it also goes that, it doesn't matter how many years you train. If you quit training for a year later, you're going to be a fat shit. Right? Like that's the bottom line.
Exactly.
So it's like you have to keep up that daily discipline, which I love. And I think that's where, when I was listening to you, Tony, that's one of the things that helped me connect with you. It's one of the reasons I connected with Bedros was because his fitness background, but he applies it to his entrepreneurial side as well, which is what really connected with me. I wanted to talk to you about, and I think this is so important because I think as people enter into business and they start their own business, whether it's, getting into real estate for the first time, I'm seeing it right now with a lot of real estate agents who started 1.5 years ago. And now the realization is that, oh shit, this is a market now that I really have to know what I'm doing, meaning that I have to know how to prospect, I have to know how to sell, I have to know how to go out and get business. And so they're finding it's really tough and it's been a wake up call for them. And I tell them that it's not any different than any business when you start it, whether you're opening a restaurant, whether you're starting a distribution company or whatever it is. Those first couple of years are tough. And so, Tony, could you share with us a little bit? I saw it in your book and you talked a little bit about the struggle the first couple of years. And I think people see, they see someone like you and how successful you are and where you're at today. And everybody automatically just assumes that you either came from wealth or that you've had all this help. Tell me a little bit about the struggle in the first couple of years.
So, such a great question, Darren, and such a great lesson for anyone listening to this. My success is predicated on my ability to handle and tolerate failure and never give up. One of the early things I learned when I started my business was failure is feedback. And procrastination and perfectionism destroy success. So you're absolutely correct. When I quit my job, so I was making about $90,000 a year. I was 26 years old. I had a mortgage. I had, responsibilities. I wasn't married at the time. And, like I said, I come from a family of not wealth, right? So, it was very scary and it was very lean because in the beginning, you are trying to figure things out. In anything entrepreneurial, you are throwing a million things against the wall. And even with Bedros' help and coaching, I mean, he's a coach. He's not a savior. There's a big difference, right? He would teach me what to do, but we still had to figure it out.
Still got to apply it.
That's it. I was unproven. So that first year, it was a struggle. It was a break-even year. And I remember going into the second year of coaching with him, his prices changed from $10,000 to $25,000, and I couldn't afford it. He graciously allowed me to stay at that $10,000 because I knew I had to reinvest into getting coaching and getting help and getting mentorship. But I didn't even have the money to pay his full amount. So it wasn't until that second year that things started taking off. And we see that with the apartment investing too, right? That's why I can't stand these people out there who are saying you buy an apartment and you're a millionaire, you're financially free. No, you buy an apartment, you pour all the money back into the apartment to make it better, because if you're buying a deal, you're fixing problems.
Yep.
Right? The deals in real estate come from solving headaches that sellers didn't want to solve.
Yep.
Right? And how do you do that? It takes money to do that. And the same thing with building that business. I didn't go out and buy the Mercedes Benz. I didn't go out and buy the house I live in now. I lived so below my means, Darren, because I put all the money back into the business. I put all the money back into coaching. I'm a big believer in you have to spend to grow. And where entrepreneurs struggle is they're not in it for the long haul. And the minute they start taking money, they start taking withdrawals. It goes back to what you said earlier, instant gratification versus delayed gratification.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
I went to the gym 3 days, so I'm going to go binge on pizza and freaking, whatever, right? Donuts and cocaine. You got to be in it for the long haul. And that's where the success comes. I think so many people want the result, but not the journey.
Yep.
You got to take the shit that comes with it to get to the success.
I agree, man. And I think it's not always just focusing on the money, right? I mean, I was having this conversation yesterday. I was in our brokerage has a monthly team mastermind with all the team leads, and we were talking about that. And even with my agents, if you're solely in it for the money, you're going to get disappointed really quickly because the money doesn't always come. And I even shared with the other people in there that were looking to start teams. I said, everybody starts a team thinking that the first couple of years they're going to be making tons of money off of all these agents. It's the opposite. There's years of investment, meaning that there's plenty of months that I'm pulling money out of my own pocket to cover expenses because I have to have that infrastructure in place to grow. One of the things I wanted to talk about, Tony, and I think this comes up a lot with entrepreneurs and just anybody in general, is that what did you do during those times? Because we've all been there, and I would assume that you were probably there at certain points when you just thought, man, this isn't going to work. I need to go back and get a job. I need to do something different. I need to quit. This isn't going to happen. What was it in those times? First of all, did you have those times? And second of all, what was it that helped you get through those times?
Oh yeah, man. Absolutely. I had those times. I always tell people, if you don't want to quit as an entrepreneur, you're just not pushing hard enough, right? You're not pushing for big enough goals. So a couple of things that helped me, and I definitely had those thoughts. I definitely always had those thoughts. Like, man, I could just go get a job, right? Or I could just sell these investments and just put the money in the bank and all that good stuff. So a couple of things. Number one, I am a Christian and I don't apologize for it. So I do have faith in God, and I believe I am doing what God put me on earth to do. We're put on earth for two things, man: to give and to grow. And I need to grow, like all humans need to grow. You need pursuit, you need accomplishment, you need achievement, right?
Yep.
And you need to give back. And if we do those two things, everything else is going to be taken care of. So I always said, am I giving and am I growing? If so, I'm doing the right things. And number two, the pain of giving up and the pain and the fear of going back to my dad's basement, food stamps, coming to my wife and telling her we would have to file Chapter 7 bankruptcy. Real talk, I take 10 bullets to the chest right now.
Yeah.
Before I had to do that.
Yeah.
And I made that commitment long ago, Darren. And people don't understand this. If you're gonna go in onto a business, give up everything, and go do it, you better be do or die.
Yep.
Because I will die before I give up.
Yeah.
And hey, I may die. I made this commitment a long time ago. I will die, but I will die on my feet than live on my knees.
Yep.
Meaning I will die going for what I want versus living comfortably with a job, but always wondering what if.
Yeah.
And when you make that mental decision, that mental commitment that I'm going to go for it, and I will be in it to win it, and to the end of it, jumped into the market when it was COVID and people are just writing offers, sight unseen.
Yep.
But now you got to sell.
Yeah.
And you got to work with buyers. You were 1 foot in, 1 foot out. You got to go all in, be in it to win it, be willing to die for your goals. And if that sounds too extreme, then I don't know, success might not be the right thing for you. So and that's what I did.
And that's the truth. I think sometimes people have to realize that as much as they want to be an entrepreneur, maybe they're not built to be an entrepreneur. You know what I mean? It was my belief when I competed in bodybuilding when I was younger, is that it's a do or die. Like I wasn't going to take second place. I was going to win. And so I walked into competing the same way I walk into business. I shared that with somebody yesterday. They're asking, why have you continued to, I had plenty of businesses that failed when I was younger. My thought was I never want to get to, the end of my life and think, damn, I should have tried that. So I just do it. Right. Started this podcast. When I went to the mastermind, they talked about doing a podcast. I came back on Monday. I'm like, I'm going to start a podcast. And sometimes we just got to do it and not fear if it's going to fail. And one thing I wanted to point out or bring up, because I think it's still one of the greatest books. I'm sure you've read this as well. Think and Grow Rich. It's the one thing that I can tell you personally, anytime I've wanted to quit or give up, there's one section in there, one paragraph I think about all the time, which is that Napoleon Hill talks about that when he interviewed highly successful entrepreneurs, every single one of them had one thing in common. They said that their business did not take off until that moment when they were at their greatest failure and they were ready to quit. And they were able to overcome that. And he said that's the difference between successful entrepreneurs and ones that fail, is that they get to that point where most people would quit. Entrepreneurs who are successful, they just keep pushing forward and they end up surpassing that. And then that's when their business starts to grow and take off. It's almost like it's a reward from God, right? Like you spent this time and you put in all the effort and I'm going to test you and now you're rewarded. So Thank you for sharing that, man. I think a lot of people think that business is just going to be easy. They get in it, and all of a sudden they're going to be making tons of cash. They see these online programs, how you can get into real estate investing and make millions now. So
Mhm.
it's one of the things I want to talk to about too, because and we both had the opportunity to coach with Bedros, which is amazing. Let's talk about coaching and why it's so important. I share with everyone, and I have people ask me all the time. They're like, "Why do you hire coaches?" And they're like, "Don't you know what you're doing?" I'm like, "No." And the reason I hire a coach, I'm like, Mike Tyson had a coach. He was the best fighter in the world. He had a coach. So let's talk about why you think coaching is so important and how it helped change your business.
Yeah, great question, Darren. I believe, and that's such a good question that you heard from client. Well, don't you know everything? I would never work with anybody who says I know everything
Yeah.
because nobody does, right?
Yep.
Nobody does. And like you said, coaches have coaches and
Hmm.
leaders have coaches. Nobody is self-made. Nobody's like, I went my entire life, I figured it all on my own. I never asked anybody for help, and I built this massive amount of success, right?
Yep.
It doesn't exist. So I knew I had to make a decision early on. Like when I was 26, I said, okay, I don't know how to start this business.
Hmm.
I know I'm meant to do it. I can do one of two things. I can spend my time trying to figure this out. And by doing that, it's going to take me a lot longer. I'm going to probably end up spending money, wasting money because I don't know what to do.
Hmm.
And I can go all on my own. Or I can get resourceful. Even though I don't have the resources, I can get resourceful. I can use money and my money plus other people's money, the bank's money, Amex's money. I use some of Amex's money, and I can spend money, which is infinite. We print this stuff, it's not even real, right? There's
Yep.
no shortage of it.
Yep.
And I will spend time, I'm sorry, I will spend money to buy back my time because I know time is my most limited resource. And for you and for anyone else listening to this, if you're an entrepreneur, we will die with more potential than we have time
Yep.
to fulfill that potential. We like our clock, we're all going to live to be 100 because of modern medicine, science, if we're healthy, right, and eating right. But even in 100 years, we're going to be at the end of our life and we're going to have more potential to fulfill inside than we have time. So as entrepreneurs, we need to spend money, which is out there. There's always money to get. There's always money to be had, right? It's
Yep.
always out there. It's never leaving. We spend money to buy back our time so we can shortcut to success. Mentorship is the only shortcut to success. I want to profit off of Bedros's failures. I don't want to make those mistakes. He already made them.
Yep.
He already made them. He's got the battle scars from them. I'll just pay him money and I'll get the lessons without the scars.
Exactly. To tell you all the things that not to, right?
That's it. That's
So
it.
let's dive a little bit into your book. And guys, by the way, if you get a chance, go to Amazon today, pick up Tony's book. It's The New Rules for Financial Freedom. I'm almost finished with it. I just got it a couple of days ago. I've been reading it in the morning, and honestly, I mean, there's some things in there. It's an easy read, meaning that you don't have to be a professor in finance to to understand it. Tony really simplifies it, which is great. I mean, that's what most of us need. I mean, it's for me, it made sense, right? I hear all these other things. Let's talk a little bit about crap. You've got that in your book. Let's talk about what crap is.
I love it, man. Yeah, and thank you so much for mentioning that and for reading it. I
Of
really
course.
appreciate that. Yeah, so I was crap. I was crap. As I mentioned, I went in credit card debt, started growing that business. Then I'm blessed to say that business took off after the years of struggle and adversity. And we at 28, maybe going into before my 29th birthday, I had $1 million in the bank from again, living below my means, growing the business, investing back in the business, but then making a lot of profit. And growing up, Darren, again, back on food stamps, I thought if you had $1 million in the bank, you are set for life, right? I remember watching Who Wants to Be a Millionaire with Regis Philbin, and I'm like, oh my God, like you get $1 million bucks, you're set for life. Well, in today's time, especially in 2022, with inflation, which is the silent tax,
Yep.
we all have the silent tax. Every single day, inflation, 8, 9, 10% of our money is just being chopped off. Uh, I was crap. I was cash rich, asset poor. Again, all of my income and all of my money there was
Oh, did we freeze? Oh, you froze for a minute, Tony. Sorry about that. He said all your
No, are
cash
we
was. Yeah, we're good. We're back on.
okay? All right, good, good, good. Yeah, I saw it froze up. Yeah, I was cash rich, asset poor, man. I had cash in the bank, but I had no assets,
Hmm.
and I was working for money. Money wasn't working for me. So that's the definition of crap. It's only until you get your money to work for you that you can be financially free.
And let's talk about here's the thing. I grew up poor as well, and it's funny because I just did a seminar a while back, and a couple of people came up to me and they grew up low income, and so they thought they had no chance in selling luxury homes or anything else. But the one thing I look back, and I'll be honest with you, I think growing up the way that I grew up, and I'm sure you may feel the same way. Growing up low income, you learn to be very frugal. You learn how to survive, and so what that teaches you as you get older, and I think this is probably what helped you be able to accomplish what you did by living below your means, was that you were used to living at that level, right? There was really no change in your lifestyle. You weren't downgrading, so you were able to sacrifice for that short time for the long haul. Percentage wise, because I know people are going to ask this, percentage of income, and what were you? I think if I recall in your book, it was like 20% of your income is what you were living off of, and the rest you were putting
Yeah,
away.
if that, man, if that, we were getting to the point where we just didn't know what to do with it. You know what I mean? Because we would invest. I had a lot of different coaches too. Bedros was always my main coach,
Yeah.
but I invested in a lot of different coaches, a lot of different masterminds because I was like, just Bedros always taught me. He always said, uh, put the money back in the business. And we started hiring a team, but again, it was an online business,
Yeah.
so there's not a whole lot of capital
Yeah.
required. So yeah, we were living. I mean, 15%, maybe even less, but I would say 20% when you include like taxes in there.
Hmm.
Yeah, that was it, man.
Wow. Wow. So that takes discipline, which relates back to
Mhm,
fitness. I'll
mhm,
always relate
mhm,
back to fitness. Takes discipline, just like when you're dieting, right? You got to restrict
mhm,
your calories. You're doing the same thing. You're on a financial diet. So
mhm,
I love it.
mhm.
Let's talk about, Tony. One of the points of my show, and the subtitle of it is Recession Busters. And so again, I brought up in the beginning, I'd like to always talk about what opportunities there are in the market. Some of the things that I've been advising some of my clients to do that are like, Darren, what should I buy right now? I've got a lot of them buying rental properties, and it's the first time they've ever done it. And they're like, hey, this is a great opportunity right now because there's so many people out there that no longer qualify for a first-time home buyer, with their mortgage. So they're now back out looking to rent. What opportunities do you see coming up in the market in the next 12 to 18 months?
Yeah, great question, Darren. And I agree with that completely. Um, First time home buyers have been priced out significantly, right? Compared to the last 12 months, 18 months.
Hmm.
So I think more and more as a nation, we're becoming renters. I mean, I just saw a statistic the other day. The average age of the first time home buyer is 36 years old.
Wow.
And right. So where are they going? Are they living in mom and dad's basement till 36? Probably not. They're going
Let's hope
to
not.
apartments, right? I hope not.
Yeah.
But they're going to apartments and rental properties.
Yeah.
So I think there's going to be a great opportunity because this recession is artificially created.
Yeah.
It's just like the COVID economy,
Yep.
right? It was artificially created. This recession is artificially created. The Federal Reserve shot rates up at a historically fast pace. And they're going to bring us out of it. Now, when everyone's got different opinions, I've heard as early as by Q4 2023, I've heard
Hmm.
as early as or late as 2024. But there's going to be this window of time to where sellers who have to sell, and you know all about this, I'm sure you educate your audience all the time. There's people who want to sell and want to just test the market. And then there are people who are distressed who have to sell.
Hmm.
Bankruptcy, divorce. Like we just got a $1.7 million apartment under contract. Three brothers who are self managing and are at each other's throats and just want out. That's where the opportunity is going to come. Those who have to sell and understand the market has changed because rates are higher. So, right, as rates go up, property values should come down.
Yep.
That's where the opportunity is going to be. It's not going to be Mrs. and Mr. Jones who, like in COVID, were like, oh my God, look at what our neighbors are getting. Let's just list our house and see if we get this unicorn offer. That's not where the opportunities are. It's, again, getting resourceful when we lack the resources.
I really believe that. I think what we're starting to see right now is inventory is starting to come down. I think last month was the least amount of new inventory added in our market in over a couple of years. And I've been telling people this for months. I said, when everybody thinks, oh, this is 2008, I'm like, it's not 2008. It's a lot different. But what we are seeing is that, 80% of the sellers, at least in the Las Vegas market, they were only selling because they could make this incredible amount of money. They had tons of equity in their house. Well, now they're like, you know what, Darren, we're not going to get the price that we wanted. So we're going to just stay on our house and renovate it. And we're going to pull it off the market. And especially now as we start to go into the holidays, a lot of people don't like having their homes listed during the holidays. And so I agree with you, Tony. The opportunity, in my opinion, is going to come first quarter. This is going to be when there's a huge magnifying glass on our market that says these homes that are on the market now are people that need to sell. Because the ones that didn't need to sell, that were looking to make a ton of equity, they're starting to pull their homes off the market. And I think by February or March, we're going to actually see, and my belief is we're going to see low inventory again here in Vegas, because 80% of the people they're going to pull their home off the market, and you're going to be left with the 20% who need to sell. And then that's when there's the opportunities. Now you have a lot more leverage in negotiating, because there's fewer, and there'll still be fewer buyers because the interest rates will still remain high, right? So the buyer pool is not going to increase out there. So I agree with you, man. I think there's huge opportunity coming up in first quarter, and even into 2023, with being able to easily identify the ones that are going to be the opportunities and the people that need to sell. Most of my clients have been buying single family residence and renting. I know mostly what you purchase is apartments. What was the difference, and why did you prefer to go to apartment complexes versus single family residence?
Yeah, great question, Darren. And I did. I started off with single family homes. I bought one house, right? I read the Gary Keller book, Real Estate Investor Millionaire, and I was like, okay, buy a home, pay it off, right? Keep it for forever.
Yep.
Well, we started doing that. We bought a few single family homes, and then moved out of my primary residence into the house we're at now, and we kept that as rental. And then I bought a couple duplexes, and I was very blessed. I built a business first, so I was a very high income earner.
Mm-hmm.
When you buy single family rental properties with conventional financing, conventional mortgages, right? They qualify your debt to income ratio, your credit score, and your liquidity. That's what they look at. They don't care what the property can make. They're not looking at it like a business. I forgot who said this, but so powerful. Single family homes were built for families to live in, not for investors to own and make money with. So the more properties we kept getting, Darren, the harder it became. They would scrutinize a little bit harder. They'd look a little bit deeper. They wanted more money down. And then I hit my 10 mortgages. And there's a law that after 2008, you cannot have more than 10 conventional finance mortgages in your name. And then you have to go portfolio lenders. It gets very expensive, very messy, all that.
Mm-hmm.
When I bought my first, and all the debt, even though it's good debt, it's all in my name. So you pull my credit report, it's like mortgage, debt, right? All that stuff. So when I bought my first apartment, Darren, it was like I saw the Matrix for the first time, because they cared more about the revenue that the apartment generated than what I did. They still qualified me. They still checked my credit. They still checked my liquidity, right? You can't be like, I'm using my last dollar to buy this apartment. The bank doesn't like that. They like to see cash reserves.
Mm-hmm.
But apartments are businesses, and they evaluate their ability. The bank evaluates their ability to lend on an apartment based on the revenue generated and your business plan. So that I liked because of the entrepreneurial mindset. And number two, the debt did not go in my wife and I's name. So I closed on my first deal. It was I think I paid $610 for a 7-unit apartment that we're refinancing now for about $1 million. So that's the other side of it. The value you can create with apartments is so much more, because it's profit margin driven. NOI, rental profit minus expenses equals net operating income. If you grow that net operating income, you increase the value of the apartment. Again, like a business.
Yep.
Single family home, to make it more valuable, you got to change countertops, you got to do all those things. And we do that in our apartments, but it's hard to make your property, your single family home, more valuable than your neighbors. Because as you know, single family homes go off of comps,
Yeah.
comparables in the area, right? So you're kind of like limited. Apartments go off of profit, NOI. So when we started understanding that, we started understanding the business side of it, that apartments are treated like businesses, single family homes are treated like personal debt. The debt for all my apartments are in my business's name. They are not in my name. Now I personally guarantee the debt, but they're not in my name. You pull my credit report, there's not that debt on there, right?
Yep.
So when we understood that, and that the ability to scale with apartments is so much easier and so much faster, and banks understand you're buying apartments to make money versus single family homes, that's when the game changed for us.
Awesome. So let's talk a little bit about, somebody sitting out there watching right now and they're thinking to themselves, well, this is all great, Tony. I love hearing what you're telling, but where do I get started? How do I get started? What would be your advice for somebody looking to get into investing today, looking to, maybe they don't have all the money themselves. One, how do they go out and find the money? How do they source the partners? And then two, how do they go about starting the process of becoming a real estate investor?
Great question, Darren. First thing to do before you ever buy any piece of real estate, invest in the most valuable piece of real estate you own, which is this, your own mindset and your own personal development. Your income will never exceed your level of personal development. So read the books, follow Darren's podcast, follow people like Darren on Instagram who are sharing the facts, right? Not I bought one property and now it's on Airbnb and I'm a millionaire, right?
Yep.
The facts, right? Read books. I read every real estate book you could read, and it just, over time. So I studied probably for 2 years before I ever bought my first property.
Wow.
Then learn to analyze real estate. Learn to run the numbers. I have a free video on YouTube. There's countless free videos on YouTube. Analyze 100 deals before you ever buy one, because you have to build through experience. It's like the gym. You're not going to go in the gym day one and 315 barbell squat.
Yep. Nope.
You're going to body weight squat,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Start with the low hanging fruit. So invest in your education, especially with this recession coming up, guys. If you're listening to this, invest in your education. It's always the best investment. Analyze deals and then start small. And if you don't have money, again, get resourceful when you lack resources, but you can find deals. You can run the numbers on deals. You can get deals under contract. There's an endless supply of money out there who's looking for deals. There's more money available than there are deals. So make yourself resourceful, build a network of wealthy people who don't have time. Again, what problem can you solve for people, right? If you've got time, but you don't have money, then you need to find people who have money who don't have time that you can send deals to and you can partner with, right? Hey, I'll put it under contract. You put up the money. We'll 50-50 it. I'll run it. I'll manage it. I'll upgrade it, whatever. You just put the money in. You hear stories about that all the time. So again, goes back to education. And then when you lack resources, you just have to get resourceful.
And talking about opportunities, and it made me think when we touched on equity in homes and why people were selling, and now people are pulling the homes off the market because they're not going to get the price that they want, but they still have a ton of equity in their home. I'm hearing people right now that are starting to think about using that equity that they have in their house to purchase an investment property. And so, maybe there's a couple people that end up viewing that and they partner together, would be one of my thoughts, would be using some of that equity. And that leads into what I wanted to talk with you about next. One of the things that you talk about in your book. And I think when people think of debt, they always think of, oh, wow, I'm in debt. This is bad. I want to pay off all my debt. And I really love what you talk about with good debt versus bad debt. And I think that's really important to explain the difference. Can you go into detail a little bit more about that, what good debt is versus bad debt?
Yeah, great question, Darren. Very simply put, good debt acquires an asset. An asset is anything that pays you, right? Your education. College could be an asset, can be a liability. You can argue either way, right?
Yep.
But real estate, right? Real estate pays you. So if you're using debt, which is just leverage, right? And I think, like you said, that's the word that scares people, debt. But leverage, think about it. Like, we use cars. Why? Because it's more efficient than walking,
Yep.
right? that's a form of leverage. So debt is just a form of leverage to get an asset. If you do that, great. Now, if you use debt to buy liability, things that you pay for, right? Vacation homes, expensive trips, whatever, jewelry, Fendi, Balenciaga, all that crap. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's the problem. And that's, again, at an early age, I understood from mentors and personal development, the wealthy use their assets to buy their liabilities. The wealthy start a business or start a high income producing career like sales, like selling real estate. They take their money, they take their earned income, which we bust our butt for,
Hmm.
right? We work very hard for our earned income as entrepreneurs, as real estate agents. And then you take that earned income and invest into passive income producing assets like real estate. Then you take the passive income and you go buy all the crap you want, right? You go get the Mercedes, you go get the expensive trip, you go get the second home, the third home, but use your assets to pay for your liabilities so you are free. Freedom is the ability to work when you want, however you want, with who you want, and you have the choice to say no to stopping work if you want. And that's the difference. That's the main difference.
Dude, that is such great advice. Really is. I want to talk a little bit about the assets versus liabilities. Some of the assets you talked about is your health, personal development, your network, friends and relationships. Can you touch on each of those a little bit?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, again, from a basic level, right? Investing into assets. Well, it starts with your time.
Yep.
Your time is your best asset, as we've talked about on this podcast. Hopefully, for anyone listening, you come away with it's not about money. Money's out there. It's about time, right? So, how are you spending your time? Are you investing your time with people who are negative Nancy's, who are dream killers, who are deadbeats, who don't want more out of life, who don't want to give and grow? Then get rid, edit or delete those relationships and invest into be around the right people. So your time, the food you put into your body is the investment. It blows my mind, Darren, when people are like, I want the cheapest food, or I want the cheapest gym, or I
Yeah.
want the cheap. And look, I get it. I was shopping at Walmart with food stamps, but I knew I could not live like this. I could not live with the ground chuck for the rest of my life,
Yeah.
right, from the Walmart. So nothing against that, but your goal is to get out of that as soon as possible. You want the good food, you
Hmm.
want the organic food, you want the lean cuts of protein, because then you're going to feel the best. You're going to have the energy to go out and create money. So it just goes back to people are their highest priority is saving money, but also, like we talked about, savers are losers because of inflation. Your goal is to spend money to buy the relationships you need, the network you need, the people who can move you forward. So coaching, mentor, masterminds, whatever, to put the right foods in your body so you have health and energy to go build, to go, create money, create wealth, and then into assets. So everything, your relationships, your health, your personal development, and your business. That's where you start to invest that money. Because, and I've asked people much older and much wiser than I am. And we talk about, a couple key areas: your faith, your family, your fitness, and your finances.
Yep.
And if one of those are off, like you are just straight neglecting it, there's no way you can build long-term wealth. Like if you are super fit and you got money, but your kids hate your guts because they don't see you,
Yep.
you and your spouse aren't, talking, you're not on the same page, you're trying to do this, you're trying to go left, they're trying to go right, you can't do it. If you and your spouse are good, and you got money coming in, but you are unhealthy, you can't even get out of bed in the morning, right? Your aches, your pain, it's not sustainable. So it's tough, but you have to find a way to create what we call equilibrium between all those things. And we're all work in progress. We're all work in progress, but just don't neglect any of those areas, because that's the true definition of wealth. When your faith, family, fitness, and finances are all dialed in for whatever you want out of those four areas.
And I'm going to touch back on that with the when I talked about earlier, fitness is the foundation of success. And sometimes people don't, they're like, oh, whatever, man, you're just into working out. But really the reason I believe that when you just talked about eating right even makes a difference, and how I relate that to how it helps you succeed in business is that when you feel like shit because you've been eating poorly, you haven't eaten breakfast, you haven't drank enough water, and you just don't feel good, right? When a stressful situation comes up that you have to deal with in your daily life, let's say you get into a stressful negotiation, you can handle that stressful negotiation so much better if you are on point physically and mentally as well. And it's good, and that's why the physical, the health part side of this is so important, because I think a lot of people don't realize that. A lot of people don't realize that, man, if I get my mind and my body fit, I will actually outperform other people, because I can handle the stress more. I can take on more. I've got more energy. So instead of me dying off and being tired at 1 o'clock in the afternoon and not wanting to do anything the rest of the day, I'm getting my second wind because I've had a healthy lunch. I've drank my water. I had my breakfast. I got up. I already worked out. I'm feeling good. There's no stress about going, to the gym at the end of the day. So I love that you touch on that, that you include this as part of your vision, or how you get to succeeding, is that health plays such a big part in it. Do we have any questions? Let me see if there's any questions. I don't think we have any questions right now. So hopefully we're answering everything. But I want to finish off, Tony, a couple things. One, again, I want to bring up to everybody, make sure you go out and grab Tony's book. You can order on Amazon. Tony, are you doing any masterminds or anything like that right now, that if people had more interest, or how do they connect with you if they're like, man, I'd love to hire Tony to coach me more or learn from him? Where are some areas that they can go to learn from you?
Sure, man. So first off, again, thank you to you for setting this up and for creating this awesome resource for people. Like I said, it's so important now to really trust your source. I mean, look at the crypto scandal, right? The
Yeah,
FTX.
yeah.
This guy was supposed to be the next whatever, the next Bill Gates or whatever, and now he's fled to the Bahamas and
Yeah.
is getting class action lawsuits, right?
Yeah.
So now more than ever, for everyone listening, it's so important to trust your sources, and people like Darren are the real deal. So thank you to you for creating this resource for everybody. Number two, yeah, you can just connect with me. You can put my name into Google and find all my social media. I do have a coaching program. We do run masterminds. I'm on social media, creating content every day to give, right, and to show others what we've learned and show you how you can do it. So feel free to connect with me, shoot me a message, shoot me an email. I'm here to serve. So whatever I can do.
And guys, if you get an opportunity, sometimes people can't afford the one-on-one coaching. The masterminds, to me, are just as great and just as useful, because what's really cool about a mastermind is that, let's say you spend 12 weeks in it, is that you've got your own questions, right? And the things that you can think of, but sometimes there's other people in that crowd that have these great questions that are getting answered by the coaches and the person leading the mastermind, that you get to learn off of as well. And then you get to collaborate with people and be around other people that are success-minded. And to me, it's not even something that should be like considered. It's something that everybody should do. Is like, you should be a part of a mastermind. You should hire a coach because this is what's going to help you get through the tough times. I just want to finish off, Tony. One thing that's in your book is just the overall wealth building power of real estate. Just give us a 2-minute summary of why real estate.
Of course, man. Yeah. So four key things that I think differentiates real estate from everything else. Number one is leverage. You can leverage the bank's money, right? You put down 20, 25, 30%, the bank funds the rest. Bank of America will not give you money to go buy Bank of America stocks or Bitcoin, but they will give you money to go buy real estate. Right. So that's number one. Number two is tax benefits, especially as you get bigger and bigger. You can use things like what's called cost segregation studies to accelerate depreciation and take huge tax benefits, like my wife and I do. And great things for, to ask Darren about, like real estate professional status, all those great things. So even though real estate goes up over time, which is the third benefit of appreciation, you get depreciation, you get tax benefits every single year. Third point, appreciation, especially in areas like Las Vegas, right? Property values just, my biggest regret with Las Vegas is I should have bought things in 2018, right? Because I would have doubled and tripled my money that you just don't get here in the Midwest, right?
Yeah.
You get more stable cash flow. And that's the fourth benefit, cash flow, right? At a young age, retirement never made sense to me, and 401ks never made sense to me. Why am I going to take all my money and push all the benefit to age 65? God forbid I die at 50. I lost all the benefit of that money. I want the benefit today. I want my investments to pay me today. And I know some stocks pay dividends but then you don't get those other three benefits. So appreciation, values go up, depreciation, tax benefits every year, leverage, using the bank's money, and then cash flow, getting your money back to you. Get your money out of the deal as soon as possible, and then you own the asset free and clear.
Isn't it funny? One thing I'll finish on is when you talk about 401ks, and I laugh at all time because when I've invested in businesses, when I've had other businesses in the past as an entrepreneur, people are like, "Oh, you're crazy." I'm like, "Well, you're crazy because you're giving your money to someone else that you don't even know. You'll never even meet this person
Right.
for the most part who's managing your money. You don't know where they're putting it or what they're doing with it, and you're just hoping that they're going to make the right decision." I Even if I lost everything in 20 years from now, I'd rather be in control of my own destiny with my own money and create my own wealth by creating my own businesses and investments and that type of stuff. So I thought that was a great point you made in your book as well. Tony, I just wanted to thank you again, man, for being a guest today. I really appreciate it. You gave tons and tons of great advice, not just in real estate investing, but in business in general. That I think that a lot of people are going to walk away with today. This will be a huge help and a lot of nuggets for them. So I really appreciate your time, man, and look forward to seeing you again in person.
Likewise. Thank you so much, Darren. I appreciate it.
All right, man. Have a great day. Thank you.
You too.
Bye. Good.